We're entering a period where fakey-out moves are likely to dominate the market, and they're coming in fast, catching many traders completely off guard. In this video, I want to share my honest perspective on where XRP might be heading next and the path I think it could take based on recent data and market behavior. I believe XRP is setting up for a scenario that could look both bullish and bearish at the same time, and the duality is exactly what makes this moment so intriguing. Thanks to Chad's recent analysis, we've got some compelling data to dig into. For the past 14 consecutive days, XRP has seen net outflows. Money has consistently been moving out. Despite that, the price is holding firm at around $2.20. That's a significant detail. Usually, continuous outflows like that would trigger a price drop, but that hasn't happened. This stability suggests that although investors are pulling money out, there's enough buying interest or structural support to keep the price from collapsing. Historically, the last time we witnessed a similar stretch of 14 days with outflows, XRP didn't collapse. It actually reversed hard and launched from roughly $0, 25 to $0, 329 within an 18-day span. That was a notable move, and if we're seeing a similar setup now, it could signal the beginning of a major price shift. Turning to the XRP/BTC pair, we're seeing some notable developments as well. XRP is approaching a crucial level at 2,260 sats, a key support area. Every time the price dips toward this level, buyers step in with enough strength to push it back up, showing strong defense from bulls. This activity is particularly interesting because what happens with the XRP/BTC pair tells us a lot. If this pairing moves up, one of two things is likely happening. Either capital is rotating out of Bitcoin into XRP, or XRP is simply performing better than Bitcoin in relative terms. For instance, if Bitcoin drops while the XRP/BTC ratio climbs, it means XRP is falling at a slower rate. On the other hand, if Bitcoin rises and XRP still gains ground against it, then XRP is rallying harder. That's a positive sign for XRP's strength. Either way, looking at the charts more closely, there are growing signs of bullish momentum. On the hourly chart, we're already seeing a bullish setup forming. The 4-hour chart just confirmed a hidden bullish divergence, which typically precedes upward price movement. Meanwhile, the 12-hour chart has just flashed a bullish signal that will be fully confirmed in about 8 hours, assuming price levels hold steady. When multiple timeframes begin aligning like this, it often leads to a more powerful move, and that's what has me watching this closely. All these indicators suggest that XRP could be on the verge of a meaningful rally, especially if momentum carries over to the daily time frame. Once that snowball gets rolling, the move could gain speed quickly. However, there's a significant caveat: we can't ignore Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin's daily chart just printed a bearish divergence, which typically signals a potential local top or slowing momentum. If Bitcoin starts to correct or lose strength, it could complicate XRP's bullish setup. So while XRP's individual signals are lining up for a breakout, Bitcoin's broader influence still casts some uncertainty on how cleanly this move might play out. It's a crucial moment, and staying alert to both assets will be key in the coming days. Right now, we're seeing a consistent pattern emerging across multiple time frames. Both the 12-hour and 4-hour charts are flashing bearish signals, which is why there's a real sense of urgency surrounding XRP. The coin needs to make a decisive move soon, or it risks a significant drop, and by that, I don't mean a small correction. I'm talking about a potentially sharp decline. So let me walk you through what I genuinely think could unfold next, based on the current liquidity heat map. From what I'm seeing, XRP still has room to move up, and I do believe a short-term push higher is likely. The exact timing of that move is uncertain. It could happen within a day, a week, or even stretch into the next month. But ultimately, I expect that after this move up, we're likely to see a pullback. In fact, there's a real possibility that XRP dips lower first, fakes out the crowd with a quick rally, and then continues down. The main reason for this outlook is the massive buildup of liquidity resting below the current price levels. Back when XRP was hovering around these same zones, especially above the $2 mark, I kept reminding myself not to be misled just because the price appeared stable. The reality is that market makers are drawn to liquidity, like moths to a flame ant. That pool of liquidity sitting at the lower ranges is highly attractive. It acts like a magnet, increasing the chances that XRP will return to those levels, or potentially even break through them, especially if Bitcoin's broader trend continues downward. That's why we're at a critical turning point right now. The big question on everyone's mind is, what's the game plan? Will market makers pump the price to entice buyers and then dump it when everyone least expects it? Or will they shake the market out first with a sharp drop, scare off weak hands, then pump it temporarily before ultimately dumping it again? There are a few different pathways this could take. One possible scenario is that XRP rallies in the short term, generating a surge of excitement and FOMO. But right after that, the rug could get pulled and the price could collapse. Another likely setup is the opposite. The price dips sharply first, spooks retail investors, then bounces back with a relief rally only to get sold off again later. It's hard to say with certainty which version will play out, because right now, the market is giving mixed signals. On one hand, the heat map and price structure suggest bearish potential, but on the other, we're starting to see subtle bullish signs pop up on the charts. These may offer an early warning that a short-term move higher is coming before any significant drop unfolds. So the best strategy right now is to stay nimble, watch key levels closely, and not get too caught up in either extreme of optimism or panic. Here's the bottom line. XRP is at a crucial point right now. It's managing to hold its ground, but only just hanging on by a thread. If it slips even slightly from here, many of the bullish signals we've been watching could be invalidated in an instant. And to be completely honest with you, even if XRP manages to pull off a short-term pump, I'm still expecting that move to be followed by a drop. My perspective is shaped by the broader picture. And right now, I see several bearish events on the horizon that simply can't be ignored. Why the caution? Because historically, before true euphoria hits, before we see scenarios like XRP hitting double digits, or Bitcoin flying toward $500K, or even $1 million, the smart can. Money tends to push retail out of the market first. We saw this happen back in 2020. Retail investors were shaken out early, just before the big bull run started, and that phrase, "we want you out before it begins," played out in real time. I can't help but feel that we're on the edge of that same kind of move again. What really confirmed it for me was a classic red flag. A nail in the coffin a moment when CNBC Jim Cramer declared that there won't be a team breed. U.S. recession. If you know anything about the so-called Cramer curse, then you know the joke is that whatever he predicts tends to go the opposite way. So if he's confidently saying no recession is coming, that actually makes me believe we might be heading straight into one, or possibly something even worse. And if that plays out, it's going to put major pressure on the crypto market across the board, including XRP. That's why I'm seriously considering the downside potential here. If we do enter a recessionary environment, I've identified 3 critical price zones where XRP could bottom out. The first is around $1.30 logical support level. The next is about $0.85, which I think has a high probability of acting as the actual bottom. And finally, if we see an extreme event, I could even see a sharp wick down to $0.60. That kind of move would be painful for many, but could present a once-in-a-cycle buying opportunity for those prepared. Of course, this isn't going to happen overnight. In the short term, I still think we'll see some upside first, probably to clear out the liquidity sitting on the top side. Market makers often like to trap traders by sweeping both sides of the market, and it would make sense for them to trigger a small rally, attract late buyers, then flip the script and drive the price lower. When that reversal does happen, I'm placing the most likely bottom near $0.85, but I'll be watching closely in case we get that deeper flush toward $0.60. That kind of drop might feel brutal in the moment, but in hindsight, it could end up being one of the best opportunities to load up before the next major move. You're absolutely right to be cautious. especially in a market environment where euphoria is running high and the crowd seems overly confident. If XRP does dip to those lower levels, say $0.85 or even $0.60, it could represent a rare, generational buying opportunity. But like you said, it's not going to happen in a vacuum. For XRP to reach those zones, there would likely need to be a major external shock, something like a black swan event that triggers a sharp macroeconomic downturn. This kind of event would probably tank risk assets across the board, cause inflation to plummet, and pressure the Federal Reserve to step in with emergency liquidity measures. That, in turn, could lead to a V-shaped recovery, much like what we saw in early 2020. Looking back at the daily chart from 2020, the parallels are hard to ignore.